President Trump is set to travel to Turkey this week for a summit with NATO leaders. And before leaving, he's reminding the world why America is special.
No people have done more good, shown more courage, made more progress, righted more injustice, or achieved more greatness than you, the American people. For 250 years, the United States of America has been the hope, the promise, the light, and the glory among all of the nations of the world. All over the world, they try and be like us. Nobody can be like us.
Meanwhile, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq are jumping today after coming off the strongest quarter in 6 years. Oil prices are back near pre-conflict levels as shipping through the Strait of Hormuz is picking up. So, Mike Murphy, I'll add your voice here. There are a lot of reasons to be bullish on America, but there was an interesting conversation this weekend as we were celebrating America 250, which was intertwined with why we have to fight socialism and communism as it's sort of seeping in and creeping into this environment.
Yes. So two parts there. One, agreed. So much to be bullish on the United States of America. I can't do it as well as President Trump, but he lays out why things are great now and they're going to be greater. But on the flip side, we do have this threat, and every big city you look at seems to be, you know, socialism was a big thing, and now it's kind of spreading over to communism. So what's happening? You know, where's the disconnect? And I think that's just it. There's a major disconnect, but I think it has to be dealt with, and it will be dealt with. But that doesn't take away from corporate profits. It doesn't take away from where we stand right now and the potential of what AI is doing for the market. So a lot of upside from here.
Trump was at Mount Rushmore, and part of his comments included when he told the crowd, "We don't want communists in our country. It never worked, and it will never work." Brian, is this really something to worry about? Because he's not wrong there.
Well, I mean, so this week I started reading. I was doing a little historical reading on communism in America, and particularly in the period of the 1930s.
Just a light beach read.
It is. Well, I got a gift. My mother and father-in-law bought me Whittaker Chambers' Witness, which is an amazing book. I'm just partway through it, but we've dealt with this before, and what struck me is the thing I think that saved us from communism and socialism in the past is having leaders who choose not to accommodate it. In other words, let's not become quasi-socialists to try to beat the socialists. Let's not become quasi-communists. So I listened to what President Trump said there, and I loved it. And I would just say, that's great. We can't just say communism doesn't have a place in America. We have to actually do it, which means when push comes to shove, we have to make the hard choices that say, for politics' sake, I'm not going to accommodate the socialist. For politics' sake, we're not going to seize the means of production. For politics' sake, we're not going to want to redistribute income all over the place. And I get I don't get nervous often about what's going on in America right now, but I do get a little nervous that conservatives are losing the edge that keeps them distinctly free enterprise and distinctly pro-capitalism. And I worry that we're trying to make accommodations because we think communism's on the rise and we've got to placate those folks.
Interesting.
Don't do
like
that.
what? Buying stakes in Intel?
Don't
or
do
what
that.
Are you talking about?
Don't. The government, yes. Yes, of course. These are some of the things that matter. But it's even, it's even a little bit softer than that. It's tolerating more redistribution or tolerating the government getting its fingers into things. We even talking about with the government getting, well, we're going to debate it, I think, on soccer and sports. That's going to be an interesting debate. I'm just saying.
Real quick.
Let's not be like them.
Before I leave you,
Yes.
Taylor asked if it was Intel. Do you think it's things like Trump accounts? Is that pandering, or is that trying to fix part of the problem?
I think Trump accounts is trying to fix part of the problem, but embedded in it is kind of that seed of socialism, which is taking $1,000 and giving it to all the accounts, right? So what I'm not saying it's like What I'm saying is don't flirt. If you flirt with socialism, you end up in a long-term relationship with socialism, and that's what makes me nervous.
Jerry,
Yes.
I'm not so sure that I would be as hard as Brian is being on the conservatives per se. I hear your point, and it's very valid. But here's what I do know. I do know there are Democrats within the party that are pandering to the extreme progressives of their own party, and now they're starting to realize that it's biting them in the backside as a result of it. But once you start doing it, to Brian's point, can you then all of a sudden backtrack because the genie is out of the bottle?
Well, I mean, these people turn over in office all the time, right? And so you get new thoughts all the time. I kind of agree with Brian that I see Republicans flirt all the time with, soft socialism, right? Programs that give away government money for all kinds of things. I think it's really hard to draw a red line and say we will never, ever, ever. Then there's no Social Security. There's no Medicare, Medicaid. There's no chips for children. You stop a lot of programs. We need a lot of programs that help people in need. I'm in favor of that. I don't want to change that. But I think what you've seen with these progressives is there's a place they go that feels unnatural to people who have been in this country for a long time. You're going to go and you're going to build grocery stores. The government's building grocery stores on their dime, and they're spending $70 million to build one. I mean, that is problematic.
It feels very knee-jerk, and I hear you on your point with the conservatives, which is also that if you don't listen to constituents, you won't win elections. So if you take too much of a hard line, then you'll lose power. Without power, Taylor, you can't really elicit any kind of change. But we've talked about this before, and I think it's a subject we'll continue to debate on, which is this happening in pockets? Brian was talking in the first hour about New York City and Mamdani living in a little bit of a bubble here. This is a bubble. When you go out to the heartland and other parts of America, it doesn't feel this way. So is the socialist, communist tentacle going to have the widespread reach that the party is hoping it will?
I'm still so hopeful that capitalism will work. And I pause there because I guess in my lifetime, this feels like the biggest threat that we've had so far. But if you remove all of the narrative, this economy is humming along. We talked about why earnings are justified. The private economy that powers capitalism is doing really well. And I think that's the best antidote to the big government socialism, big government communism, where they say you can't do it, capitalism isn't working.
Right.
Capitalism is working. We got ISM services this morning. Economic activity expands at a solid pace in both manufacturing and services. This is despite a 3-month war that we just had in Iran. Oil prices are down. They're down to pre-conflict levels. The Strait is open. The impact of the AI build-out is evident. When you get comments from all of these companies about shortage in memory chips, the shortage sucks because higher prices. That means we're building now AI. You have computers, when they're talking about that now, a shortage for 2 straight months. Tariffs were only mentioned 4 times in that report. A year ago, that was all that people were talking about. So to me, this shows if you get government out of the way, this private sector is roaring to go. Prices paid a little high, but if you get, it's at 67, if you get it down to 60, that's consistent with 2% inflation. So it's kind of like we're almost there. And I think that is the best way to prove the naysayers wrong.
But that makes them so mad that it's working.
No, but can I add, but actually, communism is fundamentally parasitical. So actually, when your economy is strong, you should be most vigilant about people who say, I want to attach to that, I want to suck a little bit out for these guys, and that's because it's not fair. It's strong, but it's not fair. If you're dealing with a parasite, when you're the healthiest, just know you're the best host for that thing. And I don't think it's any accident that communists and socialists are so incensed right now, because we've never had a more democratized market or capitalist system than we've had.
But what we really need, though, is for people to participate to enjoy the benefits of what Taylor's describing. You need to own a home. You need to invest in the stock market. You need to be out there getting in it. People need to participate, because once you get on that hamster wheel, you're like, oh,
But they're
This is the
getting
way it-
shut out of
this
that
is
right
the
now
way it works.
for a few different reasons. And Mike, over history, Taylor, I really like this point. In our lifetime, this does feel like the first big threat. But this is not the first time our country has addressed this threat globally.
No, and I think it won't be the last time either. But again, we're built on beliefs that don't coincide with communism. So I think what Brian's saying, there are these pockets, there are these threats, New York City, California, Seattle, some of the big blue cities where socialism, communism's getting a foothold. But the rest of the country is booming, and the rest of the country doesn't buy into it. And they're not going to be sold on these ideals of communism ever in this country. And that's why people come from other places to come here, and now they're trying to sell their communism to get power. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. So I think you point out Trump accounts. Like, I think that's a way to get people who haven't participated into the capitalism game,
I said that
into
too.
having investments and seeing what happens when they earn money and put that money to work. Not everyone's going to be a billionaire, but you can, in this country, you can make yourself anything you want. So the Mamdanis of the world, they're having a moment, but that threat doesn't concern me that much because they're going to lose.
And
You
with
said Trump's
those-
way more eloquent than you. That was very eloquent.
Thank
It was
you.
good.
Well done.
But with those accounts, I think he's saying to people, well, your biggest complaint is I haven't been able to participate. Well, here, now you can participate. What's the next complaint going to be?
Yes.
Because there's always something.